We Filipinos still have a long way to go when it comes to investing for the future. We seem to prioritize instant gratification, but I think how to invest properly is something that we all need to be familiar with.
It's simple, really. You work today, you invest, then leave better tomorrow.
Besides, investing shouldn't be scary, you know. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. I mean, I started when I was a teen. I hope that I inspire my kids that when they're old enough, they'll tell me that they're excited to do the same.
What's important is to find a good reason to invest. It becomes so much easier when you visualize your goal.
People think I travel so much and I have a YOLO or you only live once attitude. But the truth is, I travel because that's my business and I make sure I invest in it, spend time for it to give people the best experiences they deserve.
When people find out that they invest for what I'm passionate about, they always say, "What?" But I always just tell them that I can afford to fund my passions because of my investments.
The thing is, some people are just too shy to ask for financial advice. Like asking for help is seen as a sign of weakness, when in fact, it's through asking that we learn the best way of doing things, even in investing. With ATRAM, you can engage and be confident that you have a partner in achieving your financial goals.
People usually think investing means buying a house or retiring. Sure, it can, but saving for smaller goals is another way to do it.
People think investing is expensive. Nowadays, even with a small amount of money, you can already begin your investment with ATRAM. It's easy to make it a monthly or even a weekly routine. ATRAM makes investing simple, even for busy moms like me.
And even if you're always on the go, like me, you can keep an eye on your investments online. Plus, I'm confident that ATRAM, my trusted partner, will take care of my portfolio and make sure it gets invested in the right place.
Never settle for average. Why? Because life is what we make it. And a strong investment partner can help us live the life we want.
ATRAM is dedicated to delivering an investment experience that helps people get more out of life. In fact, it was built with that single focus, to help clients attain their investment objectives. We see Filipinos invest in their dreams and aspirations. With ATRAM, building the future is a task we can surely take on.
With ATRAM,
You
Can take on tomorrow.
Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this week's episode of ATRAM's webinar series. Today we'll be talking about accessing global feeder funds. I am Paolo Idilior, Business Development Manager at ATRAM. For those of you who have been tuning in weekly, we truly appreciate your support. If this is your first time, welcome. I'd like to let you know that this webinar will be recorded and that copies will be disseminated within the day as well as posted on all our social media pages. So don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button specifically for our YouTube channel. Also, make sure to stay until the end as we'll be wrapping up with a quick feedback survey. You may have heard of the FANG stocks. That would be that would be Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. But did you know that there is more to global investing than just tech companies? We have thematic funds, which also cover sectors such as healthcare, sustainability, ESG, and financials. To dive more about this, I'd like to welcome back ATRAM's product manager and CFA charter holder, DJ De Jesus. Hi, DJ. Good morning.
Good morning, Pao. Thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure providing insights to our viewers. Always hope that we are helpful. If you have any friends who you think would like this webinar but are unable to attend, please feel free to share the YouTube replay after. Visit our YouTube channel, ATRAM Studio. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to get notifications on our new videos. We have webinars every Thursday. The last webinar I spoke in featured our Global Consumer Trends Feeder Fund. And a common question we received was why the name has feeder in it. Before we start anything, let's define what a feeder fund is. And to give you the easy answer, it's a fund investing into another fund. Fundception. Think of the movie Inception. It was a dream within a dream. Ngayon, fund within a fund. Fundception. So please do note that the definition of feeder in the Philippines is different elsewhere in the world. We are providing the context here in the Philippines. And that's it. Thanks for having me, Pao.
Wait, DJ, we're not done yet.
Just kidding. Hope we're entertaining you. Let's dive deeper into the definition of the feeder fund that has been provided here. A feeder fund is a unit fund structure that mandates the fund to invest at least 90% of its assets in a single collective investment scheme. Since we know it's a fund invested into another fund, this definition gives us what kind of fund it is. The fund must be a unit fund structure. A unit fund structure is an open pooled fund made available by participation. So let's break it down. Open, bukas siya. Bukas ang tindahan. Bili-bili na suki. This just means you can invest anytime. The fund is also made available by participation. And participation just means makikiride ka sa tubo ng fund na yun. There are two types of unit fund structures in the Philippines. The UITF, or the Unit Investment Trust Fund, and the UMF, or the Unitized Mutual Fund.
Hey, DJ, I have a question. So what makes that different from a mutual fund?
Hi, Pao. Thanks for the question. You know what? I have a slide for this. So think of the UITF and the UMF as contracts. Kontrata siya na nagsasabi kung tumubo yung fund, tutubo ka rin. Kung lugi yung fund, lugi ka rin. So parang mutual fund nga. Pero iba si mutual fund kasi hindi lang siya kontrata. Actual siya na kumpanya, corporation, di ba? Pag may shares ka ng mutual fund, may-ari ka na ng mutual fund na yun. So may say ka sa kumpanyang yun. You can vote kung may major concern yung kumpanya na yun. So pag units, unit fund structure, makikiride ka lang talaga sa tubo. The UITF, BSP ang regulator nito kasi bangko or trust yung namamahala, and pag bangko, may hiwalay pa yan na trust department. Yung namamahala pa ng trust department na yun is yung trust committee. Pag mutual fund naman, incorporated yan, di ba? So dahil kumpanya siya, SEC yung regulator niya. Damay na lang si UMF. Pero kahit MF or UMF, iba pa yung kumpanya na nagmamanage ng fund itself, yung investment company advisor. Hindi kagaya ng UITF, yung trust department ng bank or yung trust corp, yung fund manager. So I hope that answers your question, Pao.
It sure did. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're clear on what kind of a fund a feeder fund is. So either UITF or UMF, let's talk about what it invests in. So the feeder fund is to invest at least 90% to a single collective investment scheme. Pag 90% kasi, malapit na yan sa 100, di ba? So parang all na. And this is invested into a single collective investment scheme. So in short, isang fund lang. Tawag sa fund na yon the target fund. So kung more than one target fund, ang tawag doon is fund of funds. We have those in the market too, Pao.
I see. So why have a fund invest into another fund?
Good question. It's all about access. Usually, the feeder provides access to a target fund which would not otherwise be available to either the seller for sale or the investor for purchase. And feeder funds could have for their target fund local or global funds.
So wait, DJ, why is it so powerful?
Una, mahirap talaga yung investing to global. You have to think of the things that are going into this. First, una kailangan mo ng dolyar, and the flow of that is limited by the BSP. Kung kukuha ka ng dolyar sa bangko, maghanap pa sila ng ebidensya, nagagamitin mo talaga yung dolyar na yon. So pwedeng plane ticket, invoice, o may papasukan ka talaga na fund, tapos magsasend ka pa talaga ng letter na dito ako papasok. Tapos may remittance fees pa paglipat ng dolyar. It's around $6 per transaction. Tapos, kung bibili ka pa ng stocks, may brokerage fee pa yan. Kung foreign fund pa yung bibilhin mo, may front-end load. So, usually 5% yon. So, kung 1 million ipapasok mo na dollars, then magbabayad ka pa ng $50,000. And may minimum pa yan. For stocks, yung lot size yung kailangan mo tingnan. Meron yung mas mura Like eToro, $200 yung minimum nila. Tapos kung gusto mo pa ma-access yung mga foreign funds, usually foreign bank or local bank. Kung foreign bank, may friends ako na may account sa Hong Kong or Singapore. Kung dito naman, via private banking or wealth management or even through ATRAM, kailangan mo maging qualified buyer. May requirements din yon. Among others, kailangan mo magbigay ng net worth statement mo. Tapos may minimums pa yon. Usually nasa milyon. So effective ba yung rant ko? Feeder funds kasi, mas sulit siya. Mas mababa yung minimums and for UITF, wala pang front-end load. Feeder funds also give you that diversification benefit. Naiipon kasi ng fund lahat ng pera ng iba't ibang tao, tapos papasok pa yan sa isang fund. So, mas marami siyang mabibili kaysa sa yung fund itself or tayo as investors. So, feeder funds also give you transparency for UITFs. Required kami ng regulators to give mga disclosure statements. For the UITF, it's the key information and investment disclosure statements. KIDS for short. Ayan, baka nagtataka kayo kung ano yung KIDS sa website namin. So, to know more about the fund, please visit the KIDS of the fund. Feeder funds are also fairly liquid, allowing you to redeem your funds at the daily price. Ang tawag doon, net asset value per unit or NAV po. And makukuha mo yung pera mo kung mag-redeem ka, usually in 1 week. Lastly, you know that your money is with experienced professionals. So medyo makakatulog ka ng mahimbing na ang may hawak ng pera mo is yung may experience talaga.
DJ, what makes our feeder fund stand out?
Well, hashtag humble brag, ATRAM did it first. We launched the first feeder funds in the country via our emerging market suite of funds. Those are the green things on that map. Which gives you access to the countries like China and the rest of Asia. And being the first to market, we also have most of the market share for feeder funds, making us the leader in global feeders. We have four main reasons why you should invest, though, in Atom feeders. First, we provide the feeders at very affordable minimum investment. So for as low as 1,000 pesos or $100, you can invest in one of our feeder funds. Second, we partnered with the likes of yung matutunog na pangalan, BlackRock, Morgan, pero bigatin sa industry to manage the funds, manage the feeder funds. Third, these funds are carefully selected and evaluated, focusing not only on the performance of the funds, but also the people and the strategy behind it. We want the funds to be consistent in their application, and it will provide us a basis for what to expect from the fund. Lastly, our selection of feeders is the broadest in the market. We have feeders to help you in your investment journey.
So DJ, based on your humble brag, you said that Atram has the best feeders, but we also have so many. How should we figure out how to choose which feeder to invest in?
Well, to know that, we need to know your return goals and risk appetite. In fact, let's take this chance to get to know our audience more. We have prepared a quick poll to help determine our audience's risk profile. So, the first question is, do you associate the word risk with opportunity? Tell us if you agree, strongly disagree, or you're neutral to that statement. Second is, what's your age? Are you within the 20 to 30 age bracket, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, or 51 to 60? And finally, how much loss can you tolerate? Less than 5%, 5 to 10%, 10 to 15%, 15 to 20%, or above 20%? We would love to hear from you. So please answer the poll on your screens. So for the first question, wow, a lot of people say that they strongly agree that risk is actually opportunity. And we see that most people here are within the 31 to 40 range, but we do have a lot of people also from the 20 to 30 range. And how much loss you can tolerate is around 15 to 20%. So given these demographics, given these answers from the poll, we could say that people here are towards the moderately aggressive to aggressive side of the risk profile. And we ask these questions because they actually say a lot. More knowledgeable investors know that risk does mean more reward. So those who have more investment knowledge tend to agree with this statement. And here we strongly agree. And we also asked about your loss tolerance para malaman natin gaano ka ba talaga takot malugi. And lastly, the age question, I think, is one of the more important ones because the younger you are, the more you have capability to take risk. You can hashtag take on tomorrow. So if you may have guessed, the first thing to answer before you choose which feeders is to determine how you should allocate your investment portfolio. Generally, investing should be your passive investment. It should be your money making money for you. And to make it more effective, you would want to attach goals to it and know your risk appetite and capability. Your appetite is how much you are willing to take the risk, and capability is how much you are able to take that risk. And most of the time, our risk tolerance is lowered by the fact that most people are afraid of loss. From my first webinar, sabi ko, we need discipline. And part of that discipline is not to be alarmed when there are losses right away because most investments are positive in the long run. So more than appetite, we would like to bring back age as a gauge of how much risk you can actually take. So the younger you are, the more risk you can take because you have more chances in your lifetime to earn that back. So kung 30 years old ka, 30% yung mapupunta sa bonds or fixed income, and then 70% would be sa stocks or sa equities. Once you determine your asset allocation, you look at the kinds of funds you must have. So these are the essential elements of a portfolio. And you'd actually want to have global centric funds. Global centric funds increase your diversification and lessen your risk. We have funds in each asset class, and you may even start with a multi asset fund. So from the first webinar I had, I said that equities and fixed income tend to move opposite to each other. So may natural diversification yon. But I also said that growth and inflation of the economy, so ekonomiya, yung nagda-drive talaga ng movement ng asset classes na to. So sometimes you would want to have more equity pag up yung economy. Sometimes you would want to have more fixed income pag down yung economy. So if you don't want to have that decision, you could always go for a multi-asset fund. We have two funds here, the global allocation and the global multi-asset income. So on average, our global allocation has 60% equities, 40% fixed income. So that's perfect for someone who is are around 40 years old, so pretty much our demographic, or moderately aggressive, diba? So if you look naman at our global multi-asset income feeder, which is on average 40 equities and 60 fixed income, it would be good if you're towards retirement already. So we have also global bond income for our fixed income and two funds in the equity space, global equity opportunity and global dividend. So this will allow you to make your own asset allocation decision. Your essential portfolio, which would be formed by these funds, would be best to be around 80% of your total portfolio. Now, if you want to take more risk or feel strongly about an investment idea, that's where you can add kickers to your portfolio. So your portfolio shouldn't be mostly investment ideas you believe in. You'd want to have that for the 20% of your portfolio. And that would boost the return of your portfolio and decrease the risk of your portfolio. So for feeder funds, they tend to be either regional or thematic. Regional is good when you have a view on the region. So if you prefer US, China, Europe, Asia Pacific, Africa, thematic would be good naman if you have a view on the sector and what sectors would benefit the world today. So do you like technology, consumer, financials, energy, property, diba? So at Atram, we have feeders in the US and Asia. So we're bringing it to you in this way kasi aminin na lang natin, minsan pag power struggle, 'di ba? US and China talaga yung tinitingnan natin. So we have growth-oriented strategies and we also have income-oriented strategies. So if you want to invest in US growth, you could do US equity opportunity. If you want US income, you could do US multi-asset income. And for Asia, if you want Asia growth, you could do EM equity. And if you want Asia income, you could go for Asia equity. Okay? So we also have a thematic suite of funds. So we have a selection of thematic products. You have the fund that I talked about in the last webinar, Global Consumer Trends, which focuses on e-commerce, video gaming, digital media. Or you could go to the Global Technology Fund because of how much we really need technology today. And maybe you want to start looking at the recovery story. And one of the sectors that was really down this year was financials. And financials may be a good place to start when the economy starts picking up. So what's important is if you put a kicker, you want to believe in the story before you add to them. On this slide, we show you the performance of our feeders year to date. The consumer trends that we talked about before has been amazing, 45.2% since our launch. And the 3-year average of the target fund of that feeder fund in peso is about 14%. Not bad, right? You could also see that in our top 5, you have one of the essential portfolios there, the global allocation feeder, which was up 3.6%. It remains the best global balance fund year to date in the Philippines. Sounds great in a year like this where we're struggling. And think of it this way. If you had 80% in global allocation, 20% in consumer trends, assuming that you're around 32 years old, you would have been up this year by 11%. Wow, right? And ATRAM, we charge lower trust fees. Or if you're looking at other funds, the equivalent term is management fees. So on average, the rest of the industry charges around 1.15%. And on average, we charge 0.92%. So also on the fee department, you're getting lower fees. So if you want to know more about our feeder funds, go to www.atram.com.ph, choose funds, and select Unit Investment Trust Funds to see our range of UITFs, including our feeder funds. And for an in-depth look at the funds that you want to look at, we suggest that you go to the document section for that fund and click kids. The kids or the key information and investment disclosure statement has the needs to know about the investment. It even provides commentary from the fund manager on where they think the economy would go and how they have positioned the fund. And if you want to know how to invest in our feeder funds, Nico will provide details on how to open an account with Atram. If you have any questions, we will entertain them after. Please feel free to send them via the Q&A button on your Zoom screen.
Good morning, everyone. To open an account with Atram, just visit our website at atram.com.ph. Here, you can learn more about all the funds we offer, including our peso-denominated Atram feeder funds. It will then guide you to our online investment platform, Seedbox. But if you have more questions, visit the website's frequently asked questions page or Atram Academy page as well. It's as simple as that. So I hope you do visit our website at atram.com.ph. Thank you.
Thank you, Nika. DJ, I'd like to invite you to look at the questions from our viewers. Are you up for
Okay,
that?
let's do this.
All right. So first question is, how do you select your target funds?
So how do we select our target funds? We have a fund selection process wherein we look at what you call 4Ps. You have the people, the process, the philosophy, and the performance. So first, performance. Performance is very important because you want to know that they are able to provide for the fund, right? The fund really is an idea that generates returns. But also, you would want to know the people behind it, how qualified they are. You would also want to know the philosophy of the fund or what they think was what was the reason why you had that fund there. And also the process. How do they invest? Because if you look at the people, the philosophy, and the process, you would be able to know if this is something that can be replicable, if this is something that you would know what to expect in. So by looking at these 4 Ps, on top of course, other commercial arrangements, we are able to select our target funds.
All right, thanks for that. Are you planning to launch other feeder funds soon?
Yes, please watch out for that. We have upcoming income funds for those who are looking for income. And for those that are looking for thematic funds, we are also launching more of them. So we're launching a bit more of kickers to our portfolio. You have the essential portfolios that you could invest in, but we'll be continuing to add, more ideas for you to invest in.
All right, DJ. Can you just give us an overview on how we're performing? If you can provide a bit of insight in terms of ranking, I think you have a few slides back if you
Yeah, we
can
could go to the
enlighten us. Yeah,
performance slide. Yeah.
sure.
So in Atram, we pride ourselves with being innovators and really looking for new ideas. And a couple of funds here are newer funds, like the Global Consumer Trends that we launched this year very successfully, to add. But you could also see some funds that we had from way before. So US Equity Opportunity, we had that fund back in 2015. So that was 4 years ago. And if you invested then, the 3-year average would be around near 20%. So getting 20% year on year for a particular fund, that's pretty good. We also have the famous Global Technology Fund. And we also have an older fund as well, the Global Allocation. It is an essential portfolio. That's why it's one of the older funds in 2014. We partnered with BlackRock with this, and they are able to provide you consistent returns, like 3.6% year to date, and the average is 3.9%, not very far already. So you could see that when it comes to looking at our funds, we want to make sure that they really provide for you in the long run as well.
All right, thank you, DJ. Questions from our audience. If I was a student, how do I select a fund that will suit me?
Okay, so assuming you're a student, let's say you're 20 years old, right? So we go back to the target allocation. So assuming 20 years old, 20% bonds, 80% fixed income. So if you're going for a global portfolio, you could going to the next slide, you could do 20% in the global bond income, and then 80% in either the global equity opportunity or the global dividend fund. And then you would also want to add kickers on something you would believe in. So normally, if you're younger, one of the ones that you'd want to do is maybe a more aggressive fund. So maybe consumer trends would be something that you put. So that might be the 20% of your portfolio. Well, you have to adjust for the 80-20, 80-20 for the equity fixed income based on your age. But by doing that kind of exercise, you would be able to find out what you would want to invest in as a 20-year-old.
All right, so how frequently po ba pwede maglagay sa investment? Monthly, weekly? Ano po ba ang and paano pa kung na-stop yung paglagay for 6 months to 1 year? What will happen to the investment? Thank you.
Depende naman sa cash flow mo yan, 'di ba? So, ang kailangan mo isipin din is cash management 'yan. So, kung may kailangan talaga gastusin, syempre dapat i-set aside mo na 'yon, 'di ba? So, you could do may ipon ka, you have your savings, which is your income, your cash inflow, minus your regular expenses. Huwag mo na isama yung mga luho mo muna. So, and then that you could save a portion of that for investing, and you'd want to have more than 50% of your savings in investing para your savings makes your money grow, diba? If you just put it in the bank, talo ka sa inflation.
All right, so ito more on a clarificatory question. What is again the minimum investment for feeder fund? Is it 1,000 pesos or $100?
So we have peso denominated funds, we have dollar denominated funds. So the lowest that we provide, we have 1,000 peso denominated funds, and we also have dollar denominated funds that are $100.
All right. So you mentioned that you are planning to launch new funds next year, 2021. How can we get news about these funds?
You could visit our website, www.atram.com.ph. We normally have announcements for new launches. And as soon as you click the website, it will pop up if you have any new funds that you'd want to invest in. And you could also visit our partner, Seedbox, www.seedbox.ph, for also information about new launches in that platform.
All right. Thank you for that. So going back to feeder funds, no? How are the global funds doing given the COVID-19 situation? What fund is the most affected?
It's funny to talk about that because the markets were very bad, at least the previous day. But on general year to date, it really depends on what sectors you're looking at. And you have basically three sectors that are dominating this year because of the pandemic, which is you have your technology sector. That also, I would include also the communication sector with that. So technology and communications. The second would be consumer discretionary. And that's weird because people wouldn't normally spend in a crisis, but people are spending. But it's a particular consumption, which I'll talk about in a while. And finally, it's your wait, I said technology, I said consumer. The last one is healthcare. So those are three themes that are looking at that we're looking at, and a lot of people are investing into those themes for one reason for each sector. For technology, the reason really is how much we're reliant on technology, given that we can't really move as much as before. Then we have to rely on technology. Like right now, we're using Zoom to be able to disseminate ideas and to be able to still provide, services with the limited mobilization right now. The second would be consumer, and it's actually the digital consumption story, so e-commerce. We have that on the consumer trends, and it's because more people have moved from the supermarket and have adopted digital apps like, for example, Lazada or Shopee. And finally, you have healthcare. Given that this is a pandemic, this is a health crisis, other than a financial crisis, people are investing in their health more and more, especially the older ones. But of course, even the younger ones now are already investing to healthcare. And we do have a fund that has all three of those themes. Uh, Actually, two. You have the U.S. Equity Opportunity Fund that has all three themes, and you also have the Global Allocation, and it's a testament as to why those funds are performing well. And if you look at the top five funds, again, all those funds have one of those themes, except for the U.S. multi-asset income. In terms of other sectors, like for example, energy, financials, they've been hit really bad. And energy, it's because of the global demand. Global demand is down because of the limited mobility, so limited, demand for oil, and that would also bring down energy companies. Financials is also more on because rates are lower now with the depressed growth that we have. So that would make rates go down, and central banks have been more accommodative and have lowered their interest rates. And that is one of the reasons why we're seeing very low rates, and that's affected banks as well. So that's why financials have been hit hard. And other sectors, it really depends on the supply and demand statistics. But generally, what's been pushing growth is the technology sector, and those are the companies that are also big in the indices right now.
All right. Thank you, DJ. I have a question. I have 100,000 pesos that I want to invest in Atram feeder funds. Where do I go and who will give me advice?
you could visit our website, www.atram.com.ph. We have an Atram Academy, and that should also help you make your decision as to what funds you'd want to invest in. Again, follow the three-step process. Determine your asset allocation. Second, build your essential portfolio first, and then look at the investment ideas that you believe in, and then that's what you add as kickers to your portfolio.
Yes, and I believe we have also relationship managers and customer service officers that will assist us in managing our portfolios as well. So another case for you, DJ, which feeder fund would you recommend for a new investor who's new to feeder funds and is in his late 40s?
Late 40s would be a bit more conservative, but you still have a couple of years to invest in. But that would mean you'd want to have a more multi-asset focused fund. So you could look at the global allocation feeder fund. So that's perfect because if you're 40, that's 40%. Sorry, yeah, 40% equities. Sorry, 40% fixed income, 60% equities. So that, yeah, that's one of the funds that are perfect for that age range.
All right, is there an advantage between dollar versus peso feeder funds?
When it comes to dollar and peso, it's really about your access. So if you have more access to pesos, then you'd want to be investing into peso funds. If you have more access to dollars, then you'd also want to invest in dollars. Another consideration that you'd want to think of is the exchange rate. So if you're thinking maybe the dollar will appreciate or the peso would appreciate. So for example, let's think the dollar is has been weak. So maybe investing in dollar would be a hedge for you to minimize the dollar peso volatility. But if you think that the dollar will start appreciating again, economy will recover again, then maybe peso funds would be where you invest in. But more and more, what you should be considering is your access first, and then if you want to play the FX game, if that's something that you're more in tune with, then go ahead, invest in either peso or dollar, depending on your view on the currency.
All right. So is there a global fund focused on renewable energy? How is it performing?
So global funds that are focused on renewable energy, there are a lot of sustainability funds right now. I think that's one of the bigger trends that's coming out in 2019, in the past year, and they're doing pretty good. So we have a couple of sustainability funds that we're looking at. We're thinking of launching them as feeders maybe next year. So look out for that. And they've been doing pretty well. And that's also a testament to the quality of the companies that are doing these. Because if you go for sustainability, if you go for making sure that the future is a better place, then you also have quality managers. It kind of goes hand in hand with each other. And with quality managers, they will be focused on both earning profits and sustainability. So together, it makes for good business, and people will still invest in it. It's also a very long term structural growth theme, and sustainability is something that will continue to drive the future. So that's also what's giving credence to the power of sustainability. Medyo kapag iniisip mo talaga kung ano yung mangyayari sa future, then okay din yung magiging pag-handle mo sa business mo ngayon.
All right, DJ, thank you for mentioning on the global side of things. Now, how about for local naman? Will ATRAM come up with a local SDG strategy?
Yes. This is currently being processed. We're hoping to get approval from the BSP to launch a Philippine Sustainable Development Growth Fund. And yeah, stay tuned for that, and we hope that will fly.
Yeah, all right. And you heard it here first, no? um, okay, I'm hearing a tech bubble theory in the US market. Will the global tech feeder fund be affected by this? or is it being affected by this?
Yes and no. Okay, so to break down why I said yes and no. Well, technology has been performing really well, and if you think from a market's perspective, there's such thing as perceived overpriced or not. So some people will be taking profits from it. And when people take profits, that's when the value goes down. But when people take profits from it, that's also a good time to go in. So if you think about what's been happening the past few weeks, wherein the prices have been going down, that's actually good times to add, because that's also when the prices are, more stomachable, so that you have potential for more growth. So that's one of the things that you could think of. Another thing is the global technology fund that we are invested in is not very fang heavy, and those are the kinds of stocks that tend to be, in everybody's radar: Facebook, Apple, Google, those Netflix. So the FANG stocks, Alphabet, Amazon. So those funds, those stocks, they tend to be in everybody's mind. So that's why when it comes to price, they tend to also be more volatile. But those kinds of stocks are in the portfolios of global tech, but they're not the focus of global tech. Global tech, or global tech feeder fund, focuses more on quality technology, the drivers of technology, so like the semiconductors and also the hardware and equipment. So it's the more defensive tech. So if you have something like a tech bubble, the global technology fund is actually a good fund to be in.
Right. So you mentioned about defensive tech. I've been hearing this term a lot. What's the difference between defensive and cyclical stocks?
So the difference between cyclical and defensive is it follows the economy. So if it's a cyclical stock, it will follow the economy. So it's like a cycle. It goes up, it goes down, right? So if the economy is up, a cyclical stock will be up. If the economy is down, that stock will also be more susceptible to go down as well. So the degree of going up or degree of going down is much more pronounced. For defensive stocks, uh, they also have a tendency to follow up and down, but to a lesser degree. So if the economy is up, then it won't go up as much, but it will still go up. If the economy goes down, then it would still go down, but not as much as well. So
Can you
that's
give,
defensive.
yeah, can you give examples of the sectors for defensive, and also examples for sectors for cyclical?
So more cyclical sectors are like financials and energy, because they rely on global demand a lot, right? Diba? Um, for more defensive stocks, you have your utilities, your consumer staples, the ones that you would still spend on, even if the world goes bad. So you would still be paying your electricity bills. You would still be buying food. You would still be buying drink. You would still be buying alcohol. So that area, utilities and consumer staples, tend to be more defensive. There's actually a third group, and we call them long-term growth sectors. And these are sectors that will continuously be adding to growth. So, for example, technology is a long term growth sector. Consumer discretionary, because of the digital aspect, is also becoming a long term growth. And also, healthcare. There's actually two sides of healthcare: one that's more defensive and cyclical, one's more growth. But the growth side is more of the biotechnology, the genomics, looking at what can be possible cures in the future. That also extends the life of people. 'Di ba? Humahaba yung buhay ng tao, and that
Yes.
also adds to growth.
All right. I have a last question for you. And aside from seed box, can we invest directly to Atram for consumer funds?
Well, for the consumer trends feeder fund, we would recommend that you do go through Seedbox for that particular fund because it makes it really easy for you to invest. All you need is a bank account in BDO or BPI, and you would only need a Seedbox account, and then you could easily already invest in consumer trends.
All right, DJ, any final words? The floor is yours.
Oh, okay. So thank you for having us. Thank you for listening to this webinar. And if you have any friends that might be interested in investing in feeder funds but don't know where to start, this video will be the replay of this webinar will be on YouTube. It will be on our YouTube channel, Atram Studio. So please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications on all our webinars.
All right, I think we can leave it there for this webinar. Thank you, DJ and Nika, and to our audience as well for your engaging questions. If you have any further questions or would like to learn more about Atram's funds and strategies, please get in touch with your relevant Atram relationship manager or visit our website, www.atram.com.ph. Lastly, please answer the survey at the end of this session, as your feedback is valuable to us. We appreciate you taking the time to join, and on behalf of Atram, I would like to wish for the safety of you and your family. Best of luck. Thank you very much and have a great day.